Thank you.
Can you hear me?
What's that? Oh, that's a camera.
Yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Directors, you can take your seats, please. It would appear someone has their microphone on. If you could check that before we continue.
Somebody has their speakers on too. Speaker? Your computer speaker?
Your computer speaker, if you can mute those. We're getting feedback here. Podium one okay? How's that, Mr. Robbins? It zapped you?
Yes.
That's unfortunate. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, those watching online. My name is Tim McGonigal. I'm the chair of the Committee of the Whole for today's meeting. First of all, I would like to acknowledge with gratitude that the CBRD and we are on the unceded territories of the Quw'utsun, Malahat, Subaset, Halalt, Penelakut, Sneminis, Liaxin, Pakwachin, Dididot, and Pachidot nations, whose people have walked gently here for thousands of years. Also want to wish everyone here and watching a happy Valentine's Day, and welcome the alternate directors in attendance. Alternate Director Champ, welcome. Alternate Director Duncan. Alternate Director Manhas. Alternate Director Olive, and Alternate Director Smith. Thank you for joining us today. Mr. Robbins.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Patrick Robbins. I'm the corporate officer. I'm just here to help you get through your agenda. Your first order of business is the approval of said agenda for the Committee of the Whole. There are no changes at this point in time.
Mover for the agenda, moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you. Mr.
Through
Robbins.
to your minutes, motion that the minutes of the Special Committee of the Whole meeting of January 11, 2024 be adopted.
Any errors or omissions on that, ladies and gentlemen? Looking for a mover. Mr. Director Douglas.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, one question regarding the minutes on, just bear with me for one moment here. This is on page 8. It was a motion regarding the facility, recycling facility attendant be removed, and the motion was defeated. However, when I add up the number of directors opposed, it doesn't appear to list all the names. Wondering if perhaps staff could go back and look at the video and determine if some additional names could be added to that.
Just for confirmation on the outcome of the vote.
Yeah, just because if you add up the number of directors opposed, it's not enough to defeat the motion. I do recall it was defeated, so I think there could have been probably just a couple names missing.
Okay, I believe staff has noted that, and they will go back and rectify those numbers for you. Anyone else? So that has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Robbins, next, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Martman.
Sorry, just, we're not entered into the meeting yet for some reason.
Having invited those who weren't, we'll move on.
Moving to the minutes of January 24th, a recommendation that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of January 24th, 2024 be adopted.
And again, any errors or omissions on that? Moved by Director Stone, seconded by Alternate Director Duncan. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Mr. Robbins.
Moving through to public input period. I don't have anybody online, and I'm not sure if we have anybody in the gallery today. And so we can move right on through to section 6 of your agenda, and that's reports. R1 is a report from the Parks and Trails Division with regards to the Cowichan Valley Trail Malahat Connection Trail License Agreement Renewal.
Good morning. My name is Megan Walker. I'm a Parks and Trails planner. Speaking to item R1. This is regarding seeking your approval to enter into a renewed non-exclusive trail license agreement for a portion of the Cowichan Valley Trail where it is situated on private property. The agreement will be for 1 year for an additional automatic renewal for further 1 year. And I'm available for any questions.
Looking to the body, if there's any questions, Director Justice, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What's the long-term plan, if any, for that little section of along the road?
I believe there is a rezoning application that has been submitted for this property, so that is an avenue through which we would typically look to establish long-term tenure for this trail, but that's a separate process. This is simply to renew a short-term trail license agreement.
Thank you.
That concludes. Director Nicholson.
Thank you. I was just curious, do we have a trail counter so that we understand how many people are actually moving between the CRD and the CVRD?
Through the chair to Director Nicholson, we do, of course, have trail canters throughout the system. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I believe there is one at the Stebbings Road parking lot, but I would have to check to be sure.
Any further questions? There is a recommendation there. Moved by Director Stone, seconded by Alternate Director Champ. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you very much.
Moving to R2 is a report from Strategic Initiatives Division with regards to Regional District of Nanaimo Regional Growth Strategy Shaping Our Future 2040, bylaw number 1874. This was a 2023 formal referral.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, my name is Allison Garnett. I'm with the Planning Strategic Initiatives Division. I do have a PowerPoint with a few slides, if that would be helpful. Okay. Just bear with me here. All right, how's that looking? Okay.
I believe.
Not sharing
It would
yet?
be appropriate
Okay.
to share that for those who are online as
Okay,
well.
let me just go to the, there we go. Thank you. A lot of buttons to click. Better? Okay. All right, so this is sorry, it's still not quite. Is it working now? Others don't see. Okay, hang on. Apologize for the delay here. It says I am sharing. Just got to hit the got it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Just click on PowerPoint. You should be good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience. So again, this is a formal referral from the Regional District of Nanaimo of their regional growth strategy. The referral is consistent with the Local Government Act, which requires acceptance of an RGS by affected local governments, and as the CVRD is an adjacent jurisdiction, that includes a referral to the CVRD. The formal referral process requires that the board either accept the proposed bylaw as presented or refuse to accept with reasons for objection. And if no response is received within a statutory length of time, the board is deemed to have accepted the RDN's RGS. This formal referral follows an informal referral that was received by the board in June or July 2023. The difference between an informal and a formal referral is that the informal referral requires determining general consistency with all official community plans within the CVRD, so that would include those within the municipalities, whether in development, so in draft form, or currently adopted. And in the July 2023 staff report, a detailed comparison of the proposed regional growth strategy policies was provided with the electoral area and municipalities OCPs, and that would have included at the time the City of Duncan's draft OCP, as well as the current draft OCP for the electoral areas. No significant changes are proposed from the informal referral to the current formal referral that affect the CVRD's interests. And so the recommendation is that it be recommended to the board that the Regional District of Nanaimo be advised that the CVRD accepts the regional growth strategy shaping our future 2040. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn to my directors and see if there's any questions. Or Director Martman?
Thank you. In terms of the report that was provided from the RDN, they didn't provide appendices. Is that, so I was wondering if that's important. Were there any changes on I think the appendices were mostly maps. And some of them were the specific parameters and measurements and that type of thing.
Yeah, if I may, this was not a full, like a brand new regional growth strategy. It was an update, and the intention or the scope of the update was predominantly policies. So changes to the land use designations and the growth containment boundaries was not included in the scope of the review. So the bylaw itself was attached to the staff report, and so that's the extent of the information that we have.
Thanks. I thought perhaps, I was just curious though, when you read through it, it gets into transit and talks about collaboration, uses the word collaboration with the CVRD or with other regional districts. Is there a way, or is this the opportunity to look at 2.1, which is more about the environment and about saying we'd like to have some collaboration on that as well? I'm not sure if this is where you can tweak a little bit more of the language, but if you look at, I don't know if you can, I don't know if everybody has 2.1 in front of them, but I guess where I'm coming from is where the board was few years ago put forward the idea of working together around the common interests of the aquifer and the watershed in the Cassidy area. And this is just a way to add that word collaboration in. It's already used in other areas, for example, transit. So your comments on that?
Thank you, through the chair. I would say that at this point, what is being requested of the CVRD is a board is whether or not the regional growth strategy formal referral is accepted or not, whether or not a subsequent resolution was provided. I guess is an option of the board to do that. I think the overarching objectives of their regional growth strategy they align with and certainly don't contradict any of the objectives and policies of the official community plans in the OCP. So if it's something that a separate matter perhaps that could be addressed, if it's an area of interest, that might be an option.
Director Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think, oopsie daisy, I share some of the concerns that Director Martman's brought up as well, because one of the things that I do insist on in a lot of cases is plain English, understandable language, as opposed to some of the convoluted stuff that I'm seeing here. in the report. So I wonder, Alison, thank you very much for that. For instance, in 22-573, it says requested, it's all over the place. It doesn't actually say anything. I'd love some clarity on this. And then it says, it mentions the Cassidy Aquifer, and then information sharing and coordination should take place wherever possible in establishing aquifer development permit areas. Wherever possible is one of these broad, open statements where it's easy to say, well, we didn't actually mean that. I'd love to see a lot more clarity with that. I wonder if we can ask the regional district of Nanaimo to be perhaps not so roundabout in some of their answers. Might be too late for that now, but I'm not sure that I fully understand what they're saying here. There's too many outlets on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can try to respond to that through the chair. I think it's important to remember that a regional growth strategy is a really high-level document that is not supposed to get into the details of things. So it's about general direction of the members within. So if an RGS got too specific, it might lose some of its overall intention, I would say.
Follow up?
Yeah, thank you very much. That explains a lot more. So when we go into more detail, they will start to become a little bit more specific on what they're trying to achieve here. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you repeat that question,
Yeah,
please?
as we move forward, a lot of the more general language will become more specific. Is that the right way of putting it? For instance, where it says wherever possible, is that the kind of term which is broad-based, would be changed? I'm looking for absolute clarity on what they're trying to achieve here.
Right, so through the chair, so I'm not suggesting that further clarity or precision or direct actions would be included in the RGS in the future, because the purpose of the RGS is to be a high-level document. Yeah.
Director Stone?
Yeah, I was going to say, based on that, RGS is the umbrella. OCP gets more specific. Development permit area regulations and zoning bylaws are where those two pieces of legislative tools come into more specificity. So wouldn't be reasonable to expect an RGS to have that specificity, but then through the area OCPs and then through the zoning bylaws and development permit area bylaws would get that specificity that I think that we're talking about right now.
So I think you win word of the day for the use of specificity 3 times in your verbiage. Thank you. So there is a recommendation if there's no more. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Douglas. Moving it. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Director Morrison. We call the question. All in favor? I'm sorry, Director Martman.
There is a eye test that you can take for range of vision. I'll be happy to recommend a
Please
optometrist.
do. I'm sure you have a good one.
So just to make sure, I can propose a resolution after this one in terms of potential words addition to one of the pieces, or should I be bringing it forward now?
I believe at a later time, Director Martman, after this one. is
Clarity,
either-
so I don't
yes.
lose the opportunity.
Absolutely
Thank you.
glad you clarified.
Thank you.
Director Morrison?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Breen has raised her hand.
Ms. Breen, online?
Good morning, everyone. I agree with the comments that Director Stone made in terms of the higher level and the increasing specificity. If the board decides to not accept, which is what it would be doing if it's asking for a different language, then the resolution would need to be changed to not accepting. Because there was previously an informal referral and our comments were given, if there's changes that are requested at this time, the resolution would be does not accept and would accept if these changes were made, and that needs to be part of the resolution in one resolution.
Thank you for that clarity. Whether that muddies the water is another point. Director Martman.
So perhaps, speaking to the motion, I would say that there is something I would like to have added in here, so it means perhaps not accepting this. So speaking specificity to that, if I may?
It is a hard word, I know.
Yes, so under 2.1 of the bylaw, and I'll just read it out, and I'll tell you why I'm looking for including page 26. And this is under the heading of Protect the Environment, Goal 2. It talks in specifics. 2.1 says, work in collaboration with property owners, developers, businesses, and appropriate provincial and federal agencies to protect the life-supporting qualities of fresh, which is surface and ground, and seawater from degradation and depletion. Key strategies include : what I'd like to see is local government added to that. It does not put in anywhere in there. It talks about provincial and federal agencies, but not at the local government level. And so that's the piece that I would be looking for. Thank you. So
Director
I would-
Morrison?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Director Morrison.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think that I'm really reluctant to support a not accept. This is sort of, I wouldn't say it's 11th hour, but pretty darn close. This is their finished package that they're sending out. We were given an opportunity to comment earlier. I'm more inclined to, well, firstly, this additional information or suggestion from Director Martman may very well make sense, but we're just hearing it now, and I think I'd like to have something more fully developed, other than just adding local governments. I don't know if there's any other implications. This is something that is sort of 11th hour discussion, and I think that I'd like to see the resolution as it's been put on the floor accepted, and more development of the concept that Director Martman is putting forward that could come subsequently, but not with this motion. I think that we've raised issues about collaboration and working together on aquifer issues around Cassidy before, but it hasn't been in the referral process of their regional growth strategy. So I'm suggesting we adopt the resolution that's been put on the floor, and that there be direction to staff to look at the implications of making a further suggestion to the RDN, at a later date, not far into the future, but not in conjunction with this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Nicholson.
Well, I guess this is a question to staff. What are the time constraints here, and do we have an opportunity to refer this back so that you can have a conversation with the Nanaimo folks?
Thank you. The response deadline is March 26th. And if there's no response from there, by that point, then again, the board would have deemed to accept the RGS. If the board is considering options other than the recommendation to accept, it's possible that a recess be considered so that we can explore what different options would be available following that path.
Okay, we currently have the recommendation on the floor, so if that is your pleasure, we would have to defeat it and then look at a further motion moving forward. Director Nicholson, you had a follow-up?
Well, I would make a referral motion because I actually think that's a very legitimate comment. And
So motion to table
that would be
until next meeting,
next.
perhaps?
Sure.
Would that be
Does that
appropriate?
give staff enough time to?
Yes, there is sufficient time to respond to
Ms.
the
Breen?
RDN.
Okay, that is moved. Do I have a seconder on that tabling motion? Moved and seconded. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Director Morrison opposed. Anyone online opposed? Director Stone opposed. That motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving to R3, report from the Information Technology Division with regards to information technology core infrastructure replacement. There is a 4-part recommendation before the committee.
Prior to that, I have seen Director Nicholson raise her hand.
Thank you, Chair. I am wondering, I thought it was really interesting, just back to the previous discussion on regional growth strategies. I thought it was very regional and really interesting and informative to read this regional growth strategy. And it brought all sorts of questions to my mind about what we had been talking about the potential of doing one in the Cowichan Valley. And I would like to, I was wondering, I guess, to staff, when are we have the opportunity to have further discussions about regional growth strategies?
We'll let Ms. Miles Wilson respond.
Good timing on the question, through the chair to the director. In speaking with Ms. Cheroff the other day about this, you'll notice in your strategic plan that there is a commitment to come back in Q2. That we held the workshop on the topic of an RGS, and that the decision on how to proceed, if to proceed, is in Q2. And so there will be a report coming out of Land Use Services, which will combine that with the regional planning service discussions, because they're kind of they go well together and they dovetail. So you'll see a report coming out of Land Use Services in the coming months.
Thank you very much, and my apologies, Mr. Robbins, for derailing you on R3, but we do have Mr. Elzinga. Did you have something to give us some insight on this, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not much to add. The report is in your package. It speaks to a IT core replacement project. The committee is aware that we do have some IT projects coming up. This is the first one of the major ones that we're looking for some inclusion in the 2024 budget, and we are suggesting funding by operating reserve.
Director Stone.
Moving the recommendation.
Recommendations moved and seconded. Questions, comments? Director Stone.
In this, I'm still happy to support the resolution, but I think that I'd like to understand how the IT costs are allocated through general government. I understand this is a shared function, but we also have to look at how these IT products are used within the organization through the allocation system. So maybe not for today, but I think in the future, the board should understand how these products are used, how they're used to support the organization, which departments, and if and how those are being allocated to the departments that actually use them, rather than it being just an assessment-based requisition flatly across the entire general government budget.
Thank you. Mr. Elzinga?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to Director Stone. That is a project for staff to undertake through 2024. Some clarification on which budgets are taking on which IT projects. So certainly well received, and we will be working on that.
Thank you very much. Director Morrison's next.
Thank you, Chair, through you to Mr. Elzinga, and I'm hoping you can answer this question. So I'm looking at C and D of this recommended resolution, and I too support this. It appears keeping our data safe and having, good IT is a lot more costly than when I first got started in this. And I'm just looking for a certain level of assurance. I've noticed that in a couple of recommendations that we've had throughout the budget that there's been this trend to indicate a requisition increase of $68,300 annually for the next 4 years, 5 years, including this. So staff are baking in a requisition increase. It won't be noticed in years 2 to 5, but I'm looking for a comfort in that 68.3 is not a starting number, but a consistent number that we can rely on for the next 4 years.
Mr. Chair, if I may, through to Director Morrison. So the proposals that we've received, that is the financial impact of the proposal that we're negotiating with the successful proponent at this point. Obviously, as Director Morrison knows, that each budget year will be discussed at that particular time. We need a placeholder for the 5-year financial plan, as the committee and the board are aware that on February the 28th, the 5-year financial plan will be moving forward. So we've put this as a placeholder. Obviously, future discussion if you want to change the funding source.
My peripheral version worked that time, Director Martman? That was a question.
Sure. Thanks for the report, and the only question, and I'm fully in support of this, the only question I have is, how does the $250,000 short-term borrowing that was previously approved, what's the mechanism? Does that just die on the table, or does it, like, what happens to that? Do we have to actually unwind that decision, or?
Financial expert at the podium.
Say that. Through the chair, Director Martman, we asked for the 250 in case we need it, because it's the resolution. We will not exercise it. We don't have to unrescind it. We don't have to exercise it with MFA. It just gives us the ability if we have to. And that was what the plan was when they brought the back to the board in 2022, I believe. The intent was to borrow at that time, and things have changed, and we've been able to do it through operating reserves and don't have to borrow.
Thanks. And just from a process perspective, is there a statute of limitation on those kind of motions, or is that interim borrowing out there in perpetuity? I got that one.
Through the chair to Director Martman, I'll have to check with MFA, because I believe the long-term debt has a statute of limitations, but I'm not sure about the short-term debt.
Yes, Mr. Elzinga.
But it is certainly the understanding of staff that it does die on the vine, that this particular motion supersedes that previous motion.
Anything further? Looking online so I don't miss anyone. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Robbins.
As we don't have anybody online or in the gallery for question period, we move to a motion to close. Motion that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with Community Charter, Part 4, Division 3, Section 90, subsections as noted in accordance with each agenda item of the closed session.
Motion to go in camera, moved by Director Douglas, seconded by, thank you. Yes, I see you now. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Thanks for the big words.